Welcome to the Midnight Ramblers. I'm Justin, and I am with
Natalie
and
Mac.
Today's podcast, we will be talking about work in all different forms and capacities. So if you're ready, then I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'm so ready.
First, I'm just going to start off with a interesting story.
I love stories.
Me too. Is it a story of yours?
No, it's not a story of mine.
You always have great stories.
You do.
Though.
You're a good storyteller.
So this is actually from user TheChangeling41 on the subreddit Tales from the Job. I'm going to give you no context here. The title is Slowly Driving My Coworkers Insane with Coins.
With coins, though.
With coins.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm curious to know what this is.
Okay, this may get a little long, and I'm going to change some names, but try to bear with me. About a month ago, I walked past two of my coworkers' desks and overheard one, Jason, ask the other, Kelsey, something. It was along the lines of, "Am I tripping, or are there more coins on my desk?" She didn't know what he was talking about, and besides a little chuckling, that was the end of the story. While they were gone on break, I went over to Jason's desk to check out the coin situation. There wasn't a crazy amount. Just a quarter, a dime, a nickel, and a penny. I didn't know which ones were the more or unexpected ones, but when I reached into my pocket and realized I had one of each, I decided to leave them there, on his desk. After all, it was just 41 cents. Even though I tried to walk past them as many times as I could that day, I didn't hear anything else. Maybe he didn't notice. Maybe I just wasn't there when he did. But later, I overheard Kelsey telling her friend Becky about it. That's when I decided I wanted to keep messing with these kids. At first, I just add the 41 cents to Jason's pile. He started stacking the coins by denomination. Every day, the same types. Once I left late and left it in a smiley face. Then I started hiding them a little. Under things he'd use, sometimes a little harder to find. Under an extra monitor, inside a logbook everyone in their area uses, under a floor mat. Once, I had an extra quarter, so I hid it inside Kelsey's clear pencil sharpener. I taped it under Jason's desk. I'd heard Jason's supervisor tell everyone in his area to go work on something in a different spot. I had some coins taped up in my pocket, ready to go. I beat them to the area and left them to be discovered. Jason luckily found them taped to what they were organizing. Things were getting good. They were talking to their friend, Davis, about it constantly, and the three of them were definitely accusing each other of being behind it. Then, I taped some quarters under Davis's desk. He didn't find those right away, so it was pretty fun when he finally did. Keeping a quarter, a dime, a nickel, and a penny on me every day was getting tougher. I'd have to ask for specific change when I went out and bought things.
Oh my God.
I finally went to the bank and got a roll of each to keep it going. While I was there, I decided to pick up some dollar coins. They became my new calling card.
Wow.
But I made sure Jason always got the original 41 cents along with it. I can walk around our warehouse pretty freely and can come in a little early and stay as late as I want, so I've been throwing them off as far as when it happens. I've started hiding them in their usual seats for lunches and breaks.
Oh.
They've told so many people. Nearly the whole warehouse knows. Leads are trying to figure it out. Our manager is pulling out his hair trying to figure it out. But fortunately, he's into it. I guess.
Is he?
How come no one's accusing him? Is there? Okay, just keep going.
I guess I've been mostly working in the camera's blind spots. It's harder now. Everyone is watching. I can't stop messing with these kids, though.
Oh man, the story's really getting to me.
The best part is seeing them tear apart their desks before I've hidden anything.
Evil.
The eyeing each other, turning at every rip of tape. I bought my own tape to use. I bought some teen children's magazines to cut fun letters out of to make a ransom note style card to
okay.
be found.
What?
Great. Okay.
I'm leaving the message on a flashcard with the number 41 on it.
Oh my god.
I've already got my money's worth of enjoyment out of this. I was going to end it, but it's been too fun. And that's the end.
That's the end.
That's the end.
That's the
Are there?
end.
I'm sorry. Are there any updates? Any edits at all? Like, do we get more information on?
Sorry, I don't know if I missed this, but what's his job?
I don't think they actually say.
So because he's not a manager, and so it sounds like his wording made it sound like he was below his manager, but then he also refers to his coworkers as kids. I'm like, where does he stand, and why is no one accusing him of any of this?
Yeah, when he's obviously close enough to be able to hear these conversations. So.
So there is a little bit more. So
Okay.
there's a comment
Good.
here. The OP says, so for my finale, I managed to hit every desk in their section with a coin in one day, except Jason's. It was pretty wonderful. Davis's girlfriend, Kara, had a giant roll of bubble wrap that she carried with her around the warehouse. She stopped in a location and did what she needed to, and then would pick up the roll and leave to her next task. While she wasn't looking, I slid a few between layers of bubble wrap. As she used it, they slowly worked their way to the bottom. Most of them went unnoticed when they initially hit the floor, so people just found them, mostly in places I hadn't been all day. We had a thank you jar that our manager grabs from at our weekly meetings. People just thank each other for small help, and the thanked person gets a small prize. I put the card in the thank you jar face down. It was so big it covered all the other notes. When our manager pulled it out, everyone focused on the unmistakable jingle of coins. I taped a small envelope big enough for like a key to the card. Our manager read the note, and the break room broke into laughter. Jason took his card and coins. I decided to lay low after that. Maybe bring it back randomly later. But I've left that job now. Though not before grabbing Jason's address. I'm thinking I may send that kid 41 cents in the mail sometime. Maybe just before Halloween.
Oh my god.
Wow. Okay, so when he said he left the job, he didn't mean his coin leaving job. He meant that actual job.
Yeah.
Okay, once he's gone, I mean, because it sounds like he ended it before he left, but once he's gone, I mean, I'm sure they were like, oh my god, I bet it was him.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can like share a picture. But this is what the note looked like.
Oh my gosh, that's a real ransom note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
100%.
Wait, what does it say?
It says, thanks for being so nice and funny. Don't ever change.
That's good.
Comedy
Nice and funny.
gold.
Like the pun is funny, like sure. But the beginning part sounds kind of
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah,
Like
thanks for being nice and funny.
thanks for being nice and funny.
Well, babe, you work in a warehouse, so maybe you should start something like this.
Yeah.
I'm just not that creative. Plus, they
You're
would
super
definitely
creative.
suspect me. They would immediately target me.
Uh-huh.
This is very much making me want to test some things out.
You know what it reminds me of? It kind of reminds me in a way of what you and Brandon do with the Christmas tin.
Oh yeah. Yeah, me and my brother have this do you know about it?
I have no
Hands on.
idea what you're talking about.
We have this thing with there was a Christmas tin that we got like years ago. Like God, do you remember when it started?
No.
I think I don't know. Maybe I was in middle school, he was in elementary school, maybe I was in high school, he was in middle school. I don't know.
No. You were at least in middle school. I don't think you were in high school when this started.
Oh, really? You don't think? Okay, so I guess it started when I was in middle school and he must have been in elementary school. And there was one Christmas where there was this Christmas tin. And, you know, at the end of every Christmas, everyone leaves all their gifts downstairs because we don't want to take them up to our room yet. But our mom was getting to the point where she's like, everyone take your stuff upstairs. So we all took, you know, our stuff upstairs. But then there was this one Christmas tin. My mom's like, oh, Mac, isn't this yours? And I was like, no. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Brandon's. Like, our aunt gave it to him. Like, his toy was inside it or something was inside it for him. So I put it in his room. And Brandon came down. And he was like, what is this? This is mine. Why do people keep putting random stuff in my room? and I was like,
he used to get so mad.
Oh my God, he used to get so mad
when people would put things in his room.
Yeah. And I was like, no, it is yours. Like, your gift came in it. So now the tin is yours. And he's like, no, it's not. And so now it's like, yeah, it is. So I just left because that was the end of that conversation. But then when I was going back up to my room later, I saw that the tin was in my room. And I was like, this little punk put this tin in my room when it was his. And so I hid it in his room.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little punk put that stupid tin in my room. And I was like, oh my God, it's his. And so I hid it in his room. And then, of course, I don't know how it happened, but like, I think I probably just got excited and I was like, I hid it in your room, you little turd. And then and then Brandon was like, I'm gonna find it. And so eventually he found it and then he put it and then he hid it in my room. So now it's just gone back and forth to the point where like we've hid it in different like areas, and it's been a real challenge trying to come up with more creative ways to hide the tin. And then it started getting harder once I went to college and I would have to wait to come back. But he, like, one time he made a video for me of him finding the tin one time. And it was this whole video. I posted on Instagram, but it was like of him finding it. And it was like with the SpongeBob song where it's like, sweet, sweet, sweet victory. Yeah. As he's like lifting the tin. And then he put on this like rock music as he like was like jamming out to him doing a water bottle flip on top of the tin just to shove it in my face. Like, yeah, I found it. And then now it's somewhere in our apartment, actually.
It's in our apartment?
Yeah, he's hidden it somewhere in the apartment. He's been saying for like months now, he's like, oh, it's in your apartment, and I can't believe you haven't found it yet because I didn't even try.
Okay, wait a minute. So, I didn't know that it was in our apartment. I'm totally gonna be looking for that.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's in my room somewhere. Oh, but I don't understand.
Boo.
I don't know. I need to actually try and look for it because he's like, I didn't even try to hide it. Oh my God. Yeah, like,
he's
so
successfully
dumb.
taunting you.
Yeah. I don't know why that reminded me of that, but it did. It also reminds me of, oh my gosh, my freshman year at UCSD, there were, I don't know if it was one person or just like a collective of similarly minded people started putting googly eyes everywhere. Like, we'd find it on the Triton statue or on like walls or in just the weirdest of places, so random. I would even see some on like people's bikes, and it was like you never knew like who did it, and it made me want to go get some googly eyes and put them somewhere on campus.
Oh my God,
and be a little sneaky sneaks.
Can I also add a story? You don't have to put this in. We can cut it out. But can I tell a story that kind of reminds me of that and of the one that Anson told?
Good with me.
Okay, so when I was in first grade, there was this guy, and just for the sake of not saying names, we'll call him Alex. And Alex, I knew had a crush on me, and I don't know what made me do it because I did not like him back, but I decided I was going to write a bunch of notes to him and leave them on his desk and say they were from a secret admirer.
Oh my!
Maybe
I have done that exact same thing.
Why?
Yeah. Well, maybe it's like a phase that like we all go through, like wanting to be like because I put it on his desk. I would put it on his desk, and then I'd like watch him find it, and I'd be like, he doesn't know it's me. And I would see him like get this like really confused look, like every time he read it. And then I remember one day we were doing like arts and crafts, so everyone was like cutting paper and there were like just scraps of paper everywhere. So I figured, and this was at the heat of this was probably like the third or fourth time that I wrote a note, and I was like, I've been writing a lot, but I'm gonna write one more, and I'm gonna put it in his pile of scratch paper that he like had collected from his arts and crafts. And then I figured, you know, he's probably just going to end up throwing it away. He's going to think it's a scrap of paper that he cut and he's going to throw it away. So I wrote a little note and I put it in the scraps of paper. And the next thing I know, he's going up to my teacher.
Oh my God.
And the teacher's like, who has been writing Alex these notes? And then she's like, I'll read it for you if you don't remember. And so she reads it out loud and it says like, Dear Alex, I'll see you at lunch. Wink, wink. Your secret admirer. And she's like, if you come forward now, and you tell the truth, you won't get in trouble. And I was like, and you know, I had never gotten in trouble like before, and I was like, I am not going to get in trouble now for doing this. So I didn't come forward. But I just remember being like, it was like traumatizing because there was this like, what was he called? Arthur the Anteater.
Yeah.
You know, there was this one story where there was something like that had happened, and I couldn't read that book anymore after this incident because it was like trauma. It would bring back like all these like guilty memories. Eventually it got to me so much that like, I think like a couple weeks later, we were all running the mile. So, you know, we're all spread around the field. So there's a lot of space to be able to catch somebody and nobody else is around. So I went up to Alex and I was like, hey, I just want you to know, like, it was me. And I told him the truth. And I was like, I just want, I don't know why I said it. And I was like, I don't know why I did it. Like, I don't like you. You know that, right? And
I think I know who you're talking about now.
And he was like, yeah, I know. And I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know why I did it. And I don't know why I told the truth, but I wanted to tell you the truth now. And he's like, okay, thank you. And then I finished my mile.
And he didn't tell on you?
No.
Wow, that was nice.
Yeah. So.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I understand the feeling of power you get from watching these people like
search for coins
and open notes and things that you left there and they don't know that you left it there.
You guys are crazy.
It's a feeling of pure power. But also on the, you know, creepy side. So especially the way he was, conducting himself in that, I don't know, the way his manner of speaking in that whole essay that he provided was very methodical and serial killer.
Yeah.
The part that really stood out to me was that I've left that job now, but not before grabbing Jason's address.
Yeah, that's a little creepy.
Yeah.
I guess the way I'm saying it doesn't really help the case.
Of course, 100%.
But I just gotta read it how it seems.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be a very short one.
Okay.
Because this is just a comment to a Reddit post. The original post is to ask Reddit by user mystery_tramp. And it says, Reddit, what's your best/worst first day of work story? And a comment by a user named the_44 goes like this. First day, met the whole team, and then was getting set up at my workstation. Vice President walks over to hand me my nice, shiny, new MacBook. I reach out to grab it. He reaches out to hand it to me.
No.
And he lets go
No.
before I have any sort of grasp on it.
I already knew. Once he said MacBook, I was like, it's over.
Oh, no. My God.
Smash. Everyone looks up from their computer. My face goes insta-red. Vice President just staring at me. In that moment, I thought 1,000 thoughts. And then, laughter. The coworker filming on her phone stands up. The already broken computer trick.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Hazing.
Well, thank God.
Hazing. How would you feel?
If that happened
God.
to me,
Yeah.
First, if that happened for real, I would be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'll pay for it. Like, I'll do anything you ask for.
Even if it wasn't your fault?
Kind of, yeah, because I would think it's my fault. I don't know, but if it was just a prank, I would think that would be funny.
You would think that'd be funny?
Yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
begging them to hire somebody else so that I could do it to them.
I'd be thinking about quitting right on the spot.
Really?
Yeah.
It's that bad to you?
I've
you think
never
it's mean?
been a big fan of pranks or anything of the sort.
I think like as long as that's not like a crazy reoccurrence type of thing, like if they're pranking me like that all the time, then yeah, I'm not gonna want to stay.
That's true. If it's an all the time thing.
But if it's just a funny like one time thing they do to all the new people, then who cares?
I can see that. So I just wanted to throw in the next comment,
Yeah,
Okay.
go for it.
which is imagine what would that have been like if you had worked in a maternity ward.
Oh my.
Unexpected dark humor.
Do you have an interesting best or worst first
Oh
day
yeah, I
of
was
work
gonna
story?
bring that up. Now, me personally, not really. I do remember I've worked jobs where first day was absolute sink or swim. Like they sat me down to watch all the training videos. Computer didn't work, so they just threw me in the kitchen and they were like, "Do this," and then in the middle of a rush. So I'm just going to say there have been some experiences, but nothing too interesting. Nothing too interesting. Do you have any crazy first day of work stories?
I don't have like a crazy first day out, like a whole day. But there was one first day I had. I rung someone up. They were teaching me how to ring someone up on the cash register, and they were supposed to pay like $6, right, for a yogurt, and you had to do it so that it had like 0.00. How do I say it? You had to have like you couldn't just put 6 for $6, right? You had to do 6.00. Well, I had yeah. I think I was just really nervous. It was my first day. I was dealing with a customer and my hand slipped and I charged them $600. It went on their card.
Wait, this was your first day?
Yeah, that was my first day.
Oh my god, I do remember this story. I just didn't realize it was on your first day. My
Yeah,
god.
and I felt horrible. Luckily, my boss at the time like swooped in as fast as she could and like canceled it, but it went into that card. It was literally in the middle of processing that purchase. And the customer was not pleased.
$600 for like
A yogurt.
a pound of yogurt. is
Yeah.
I do not appreciate $600 mistakes.
I felt awful. And
Oh,
like
man.
it was a good first day of work experience because I never messed up someone's order like that again. I was very careful with the way I pressed buttons. What about you, Maya?
No, I don't think so. I'm like trying to remember my first days at all my jobs, and I don't really think that they were that eventful because I don't think anything of note happened. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's usually, training. Not a crazy ton of things
Yeah,
to
I
do on
mean,
your first day.
I definitely remember like the beginning of my job at the market in college. I was like, my boss kept like coming over and telling me to do things, and I was like, you don't have to tell me to do things. I got it. I got you. I'm not gonna be one of those people just standing around here. But I was like, she doesn't know me yet. She doesn't know. And then, sure enough, later down the line, she said she didn't know why she started that way with me because she didn't have to.
So I just remembered that I do have a story.
Oh my God!
then
Please do.
share.
Please do. Please do.
So this actually wasn't my first day of work. It was my work orientation.
Okay.
So the place I was working for, it was another fast food restaurant, but the way that they did things was instead of having a first day of work, they had an orientation day is what they called it for all the training videos and such. It's not really about what happened at work. It's about the fact that as I was on my way, and I was just a 16-year-old at the time, I was riding my bike, and halfway there, one of my tires popped.
Oh no.
And I had two options, which was to go take my bike back home and then potentially get a ride to work, or to just get there as fast as possible. So I threw the bike on my shoulders and I ran.
Wait,
Wow.
what?
Yeah.
Commitment.
And I showed up 5 minutes late, and it was like a movie. Like I busted through the door, sweat pouring all over my body, bike slung over my shoulders with a tire ripped off of it, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be late. My bike. They were super understanding. They were like, we can see that.
Oh my god. That's funny.
So that's how I was
Wow,
late to
the
my
effort.
first day.
The
You should have gotten
effort.
employee of the month like right away.
Oh man, I hadn't even done the first day yet.
Do you know how far of a run or walk that was for you?
If I had just been typically walking, it would have taken me I'd say an hour. If I had walked from start to finish, leisurely, of course. And it was uphill that way. And what is it? When I would take the bike, I think it would usually take me about 15-ish minutes to get there.
Okay.
So use
Wow.
those time estimates.
That's insane.
So
You really went for it. Good for you.
I was like, this is my first job. This is my first day. Like, if I show up late, they're just going to fire me because they don't even know who I am. I was stressing.
I think the fact that you really committed yourself to that trek.
Yeah. How old were you?
I was 16.
16? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Well, I'm glad they were understanding.
Yeah. Workout.
Yeah, a little bit. And I was not in shape at that time period. Not even close. Far from it.
Even more impressive.
So, are we ready to move on to
Yeah.
another story?
Yeah, I
Yes.
love these. Keep them coming.
From Tales of the Job. The title here is If They Fill Out the Application in Red Crayon. Back when I was the day shift general
Oh, wait.
manager.
I was like, what?
Was that the end?
That was the title.
Does it say ...
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. English major bothers me that it
Sorry.
ends off with that.
If they fill out the application in red crayon.
If you give a mouse a cookie.
Yeah.
Ah, there we go.
Back when I was the day shift general manager at a certain steak restaurant, we were doing a hiring streak for the new location's grand opening. I had a big stack of applications to go through. A few stand out as being memorable, like the guy who listed his fellow inmates and his parole officer's references. I was willing to give him a shot, but he missed his interview by being arrested and in jail again. Or the woman who had tons of experience, listing her last 5 restaurants where she'd worked a total of 2 weeks. But the one that really caught my attention was the application written in red crayon. Yes, seriously. Neat printing throughout, but completely done in red crayon. I called this guy in for an interview just for the hell of it. When he showed up, he was well-dressed, polo shirt, black jeans, comfortable non-skid shoes, had excellent references, a decent work history, good knowledge of restaurant work, dish pit, bussing, and prep, and overall was perfect for the job. Finally, at the end of the interview, and I'd already decided to hire him, I'd be insane not to, I asked the big question. Why did you fill out the application in red crayon? Well, I figured you'd have a ton of applications to dig through, so I wanted to stand out.
Yeah. Well, you did.
Yeah.
After his second day on the job, I jokingly told him, "You're the best worker we've got. Any more like you at home?" "Well, I've got a brother who could use a job." And he brought his brother in the next day for a trial run. Hired him on the spot, too. The brothers were still working there when I left 4 years later, and they took over my position as co-general managers.
Wow.
Well,
So, yeah, I thought that was an interesting story.
That is interesting.
And it brings me to a question.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to hire someone to replace you in your own job, what traits would you look for and what questions would you ask? Disregarding any laws about what you can and can't ask as well.
Are you pregnant? No, I'm kidding.
when you say our job, do you mean like we're putting ourselves in the context of what job we have now?
Or if you want to do it for a different job, that's fine. But just if you were to hire somebody for either your current role or role in the past, what traits would you have looked for in that person and what questions would you have asked them? Take your time, man. It's not a common question.
Well, I work right now as a marketing associate for an AI company. All the people there are very nice, and I've only known them a year, and they've already been such a big part of my life. So I feel like the job, I don't know. You get connected to the job that you're in. So I'd want to make sure if I was leaving and someone was taking my job, I'd want to make sure that they would be able to take care of the things that I'm able to take care of and continue being a part of the community that they have there. So if I was looking for traits, like kindness would be a top priority, good sense of humor, communicative. I think too, especially because in the line of work that I do, anything with art or anything of that nature, you have to take a lot of criticism and be able to apply that criticism, but also know when that criticism maybe shouldn't be applied. So, strong but independent. And I'd probably ask why they applied for this job. I'd ask them, do you have a passion for AI? What is your passion? And I think one of the most interesting questions that I've never been asked in an interview, this question, but I got asked in my interviews with my current job. They asked me like what things I'd want to pursue, what my interests are, things beyond the job I was applying for, which is interesting because when you're applying for a job, people aren't being like, so what are you going to do after you leave us type of thing. But they asked that question, and it made me feel invested in the work I was doing because I felt like they wanted me to succeed in whatever I was doing and would give me the opportunities going forward. So I think like asking that person, what are you looking for in this job? What are your hopes and dreams with your career? And kind of setting something up for them before you leave to help them pursue that within the company is always a good thing. And I definitely agree with something. It's always good to have something stand out in your resume. I don't know what mine was, but my boss told me that my resume stood out. Yeah, I don't know about crayon, because definitely not all employers would take a look at that. But as much as I love that, I am not brave enough to do that. But yeah.
And I think, you'd have to have a very specific employer in a very specific situation for them to call you up for an interview if you wrote in red crayon. Like that manager happened to be in a situation where the applicants he was getting, or she, did it say the gender? What
I don't
gender
think so.
was? The applicants they were getting were not the greatest. So they didn't really have much to choose from. And so they thought, why not give this person a shot, since the content of their application looks good. It's just the presentation was unprofessional. So I having a family who owns a business and is very picky about who they ask to come in for an interview. Yeah, I think, that's not normal.
I think that's a good point, because Justin, when you were reading this, I too felt like, we grew up with a family business. We always heard stories about people and their resumes. We saw a lot of resumes. I've seen multiple just with pencil, with a lot of incorrect spelling, and some with pencil that look, might not have looked great, but everything on there looked fine. Grammar was good, whatever. And you never know what a person's home life is. Maybe that's why. But sometimes too, it's more than a resume. I know we're kind of getting off topic a little bit, but
The topic is work. I think
True.
resume fits perfectly.
But I cannot tell you how many parents would come up to us or a mom and say, hello, my son or my daughter, they're very interested in applying for this job. How do they apply? What are the hours like? Blah, blah, blah. The worst thing you can do for your kid looking for a job is ask for them about everything. Because number one, it just looks bad to the employer, like your son or daughter, your child cannot be independent, or that they don't care enough that maybe you're pushing them into a job that they don't want. It does not look good, period.
Yeah.
So there are definitely things that I've learned just by having a family business and listening to our mom's critiques of other people's presentation or resumes that, when you said the crayon thing, it was really off-putting at first. But I definitely understand the need to stand out. I think it really just depends on the manager that you get.
Yeah. And what kind of situation they're in.
Yeah. Because I'm sure, too, it's a really large chain, right? So they're getting a crazy amount of applicants. So, who cares? Let's interview this person for fun. But when you're running a small mom and pop shop, you don't have time to waste. You're not getting a crazy amount of applicants. You don't want to waste your time. You want to make sure these people are professional and ready to go.
Yeah.
But sorry, about your job. You're a teacher, so it's really important. Unless you had another job you were thinking about.
No, I mean, I guess just in general, like thinking about, especially to like when I was working at the market or at the shop, I think probably the biggest thing that I think I would maybe ask about is, I don't know, ask them something that has to do with like their work ethic and their ability to like find people to come in if they can't come in. Like I can't tell you how many times when I was in college, it was fine. Like everyone would find covers for the most part.
Yeah.
But for some reason at the shop, it sounds like that's something that doesn't happen very easily for people, which I just don't understand. Like if you're not going to come in, I don't know, you have to find a cover. I don't understand. I just like, sometimes I just really don't understand like how people today, like in like food service jobs, they're calling in sick like 2 hours before their shift. It's just like not okay, because not only is it not okay to the owners or the managers that you are then putting all that pressure on to find somebody to come in, or then those managers have to come in themselves, and that's not fair to them. But you're also kind of, letting down the people who are working there, because maybe the manager literally won't have anybody else to call in. So it's all up to the one person or the two people who are already there who are depending on you to come in to help, and now all that work is going to be on them because the manager just literally can't find anybody else to come in. So now your job. And
those hours could have gone to someone who really needed it.
Yeah, and I just like think, I get it when emergencies happen or something comes up, but
emergencies don't happen every week.
Yeah, and like, if you're, because I've been in that situation so many times when like, the schedule has already come out, but one of my friends is like, hey, you want to like go out on Thursday? And I'll be like, yeah, I want to go out on Thursday. Let me just find a cover. And I'll be able to find a cover right away. I just don't, maybe not right away, but, I ask every single person. That's another thing. Like people always, telling our mom like, oh, I asked this person, but they said they couldn't do it. Okay. Yeah. Did you ask other people? It's just mind boggling to me. I just literally don't understand. And I think when I got to the market, it was just such a nice environment because everyone was like so supportive of each other. They understood like they had to find covers, and it was really easy to find covers because that's another thing. We all wanted hours.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's like a thing that people aren't looking for anymore, or if people just don't need the job that they have, so they're not dependent on hours. I guess that is the difference, really. Like when I was working at the market, and I went to Cal Poly, which is a pretty nice school. So I feel like most people who had a job at that school were people who needed that job because there were a lot of, rich people at Cal Poly. So people who had jobs at Cal Poly, they needed that job. And so I think everyone working there just needed hours and wanted hours. So everyone was willing to somebody puts in a text in a group chat, hey guys, there's this concert I really want to go to on Wednesday. Can anybody cover like my 4-hour, 6-hour shift? And I would always be like, yeah, I need that money.
Yeah.
So I don't know, something about, being able to.
Reliability.
Yeah. Reliability is a big one. And then I think just, if I'm going back to just being an educator, I would want somebody who is there for the right reasons, enjoys working with kids, and just knowing like what their behavior management strategy is going to be, how they feel about the book banning in Florida. I would hope that a lot of people have what I would assume to be the correct opinions about that.
Yeah.
But I would just like to know, because I've already had one sub that has come in and has said that my books are too woke. So I know there are people in California who think the same thing. And I think, someone who's working in education who wants to get rid of certain books, they shouldn't be working in education then. I don't know. Mm-hmm. We learn from books. You learn to read. This is what they always say, but like in lower grades, you learn to read. In upper grades, you read to learn. So what's the point of having all these books if you can't read them and then you can't learn? That's the whole point of this whole, book banning thing. It's like, yeah, they're wanting to get rid of these books so that you can't learn. Yeah. That's what it is. So anyway, sorry.
And even if you disagree with what's in the book, then you can still read it to learn what you disagree with.
Yeah. That's called critical thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, and as an English major, like that's what we would do all the time. We read, several books that are, outdated with opinions that we're supposed to actively think about. Because, especially, I think it all started in high school. You start reading things that you have to start reading and thinking about the credibility of the author. Mm-hmm. You start learning about rhetoric. And you have to start, asking questions for yourself, like, do I actually agree with this? What was the author's I remember being in, dual English, which is a college credit class, but in high school, and it was an English course. And I remember, we were all reading this book and we were saying like, oh, well, the author has this opinion, and he backed it up with like, these ideas. And then he was like, well, did anybody look up the author? And we all looked up the author, and he was like a radical, right wing. I don't know. I can't remember what it was, but it was something that made him very not credible for the opinions that he was giving out and the facts that he was giving out. And he was known to be some kind of like liar or something. So, I think that's just the whole point. And I think like going back to what Hanson said, it's so right. It's like, you can read these things, and if you don't agree, then you don't agree. It's, up to you to be, thinking critically about these things. For sure. And, keeping an open mind, but also thinking about the author, what biases like you have or the author has, and thinking about where you stand on all, within all of that, within all the content that the book is either trying to promote or just naturally has. Maybe there's no agenda in the book. I don't know.
Just ask questions. Kids should be encouraged to ask questions.
Which is literally a reading skill. Literally a reading skill that I have to teach my 5th graders. So
if they're being taught like this flavorless, like black and white history with no questions to ask, then they're going to develop very little skills growing up. And it's very dangerous for the country.
So I'm going to answer my own question because I'm that guy.
No, please.
So in case you didn't know, I am currently a warehouse manager. So if I was to be looking for somebody, I would be looking for someone who cares for safety, first off, because we work with things that, can be dangerous. But aside from, safety's number one, I'd look for somebody who is very organized and pays attention to detail.
Makes sense.
I think the thing that would be most important is making sure that whoever it is does things right the first time and has an inner sense of obligation to do things correctly, not because some outside force is telling them to, but because simply they know that it's what they should be doing. I think that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I think intrinsic,
especially in the environment that you work in, it's important.
yeah, intrinsic motivations are really important in a job because a lot of people are there for the money, and that's just as fine. Like a job's a job, and you have a job for money. But if you're doing the job for money, but you're not putting any effort into it because of that, then you're gonna do a crappy job.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you're just doing it for money, that's fine.
For sure.
As long as you're committed to doing it correctly
Right.
for money. Yeah. So.
Okay. This was posted on r/Am I the Asshole? And it was posted by user Dadius309. The title reads, Am I the asshole for letting my wife take care of all the housework? I, 42 male, know how this title sounds, but there's a reason for this. My wife, 37 female, and I have been married to well over a decade. We have 3 kids, 6, 9, and 11 together, all in school. The issue of housework has become a hot button topic between us. Of course, I have tried to help around the house in the past, but her constant critiques of how I did housework has made it unsustainable. Here's just a short list. Dishes still wet when they were put away. Dishes still dirty after cleaning and being put up. Sometimes I accidentally miss a spot, or there's a small bit dried on and I can't get it off. Didn't hang up dishcloths/counter towels. She thinks wet ones are gross. Mixed clothes, bedding, and towels in one load of laundry. She says they can't.
Oh my God.
She says they can't be washed the same way, and it's hard to sort like that.
And it's gross. Like your bed sheets are going to be... Sorry.
Didn't get it out of the washer in time. She claims she can smell them and just rewashes them anyway. Didn't change mop pad after cleaning the bathroom before cleaning the kitchen floor, even though I'm using bleach. Put leftovers away wrong. Yes, really. Apparently using aluminum foil instead of fishing out Tupperware is the wrong way. I finally got sick of getting an earful for not being perfect all the time and said that I want to help, but not if I was going to be criticized for not doing everything just the way she wants it done. She actually told me to just stop helping if I wasn't going to do a good job, according to her. And honestly, if she's just going to redo everything, it's a massive waste of my time to try to help out in the first place. So for the last few years, I've just let her do her thing to her standards. Both of us work. I am a tradesman.
There we go. What I was waiting for.
Yeah. I am a tradesman and have long physical days. She, on the other hand, is a substitute teacher at a high school. Now I know that teenagers can be a handful, but it's hardly taxing.
Excuse me?
Anyway, we had a huge fight because the dishes in the sink hadn't been washed and were piling up. She said that she cooked, cleaned, worked, took care of the kids, laundry, and then asked me, what exactly do you even contribute? I'm hurt that she feels like I don't contribute. And I feel like she's the asshole for being critical instead of appreciative of my help and then acting put upon because she decided to do it all by herself. Most of my friends agree with me, but my younger brother says that I'm the asshole for not taking on more housework. Too long didn't read. Wife criticizes my every attempt to help around the house. Am I the asshole for just letting her do things her way since she'll redo anything I do anyway? There is an edit.
Okay.
For context, I was raised in a household with traditional roles and values. When we met, she was on the same page. Her views have unfortunately changed, but in our family, housework is mostly going to be her thing. I wouldn't mind helping here and there if she didn't expect perfection.
Weaponized incompetence. Weaponized incompetence. 100%. I don't know what that edit... I don't know if he thought the edit was going to make him look better.
But no, this is just the way I was raised, you guys. This is just the way I was raised.
Yeah.
I believe in traditional family values. That's fine. It's still not
is
right.
Which is like, okay, but your wife works and you're really not going to see the inequity of that.
Yeah.
Like that's...
I feel like at the end of the day, like it doesn't matter what you were raised to do. Like your wife is communicating with you that she needs help and this is how she needs things done so that it's clean, safe, hygienic. Just kind of basic normal chores
Yeah, the
that
way
every
he's doing
adult needs to
everything
be
is
done.
wrong. He's literally doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
Which is like, and maybe that kind of helps that he puts this in the context that he was raised in a household where, women do the housework. So of course he's not going to know how to do any of this stuff. I mean, even though I know for a fact that this is weaponized incompetence, because it sounds like he's doing everything literally wrong on purpose. Because who gets that many things wrong in a row? Anyways.
And it should just be a one-time.
Your wife is, teaching you how, and I don't know, we don't know the manner in which she's speaking to him, but, your wife's telling you, oh, this is how you do it. So just do it that way. I don't understand, unless you want to claim expertise in these areas, which you've just admitted that you don't have expertise in these areas
So
because
true.
you didn't grow. Then, don't get defensive and don't be like, oh, she's nagging at me. Like, no, you already admitted you don't know how to do this stuff. So she's teaching you. So she's telling you once, and then all you have to do is just do it. If it really bothers you so much to even ask for, hey, I remember you said last time I wasn't supposed to do this. Like, how am I supposed to do it again? If it really bothers you that much to ask, because you can't just man up and ask your wife how to do something because it bothers you, then I'm sorry, but that's your problem. I don't know. That just bothers me so much.
I really got lost at the moment when it's like he admitted that she was working, and then it's like he took his shovel and just stuck it right back into the ground for one extra big heap when he's like, oh, but she's just a sub. She's just a substitute teacher, though.
It's hardly taxing.
It's hardly taxing. Like, personally, I remember going to high school as a high schooler, and that was horrible. That was a horrible experience. And I don't care if it's a sub or whatever, but I can only imagine that's taxing, certainly in its own right.
For sure.
If not, in the same way as a trade, like maybe it's not her lifting things up and putting things down all the time, but still very taxing.
Yeah.
And a big part of the issue is just the fact that their standards of cleanliness, and this is in the event that it's not weaponized incompetence, it's just a man that's simply what?
Sorry.
What?
You said weaponized incompetence.
Did I say that?
Yeah, it was really funny because I was gonna stop. I wasn't gonna do anything at weaponized because I totally get it. But then you said incompetence. Yeah.
My bad.
Sorry, that was no. You're good.
In the event that it's not weapon.
Now you're thinking about it. Sorry.
In the event that it's not weaponized incompetence, and he really just is that way, that's just an absolute mismatch of two people with a different standard of cleanliness.
Right.
And in the event of two people having a different standard of cleanliness, they need to reach a compromise. And one thing that bothers me is the fact that it's like, oh, well, like in like my traditional ideals, right? Like men don't do housework, and it's like, well, in your traditional ideals, women don't go to work.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly
So
what I was
figure it
thinking.
out. Like either you make enough so she doesn't go to work, or you get rid of your traditional ideals.
Well, the thing is it, I'm sure she wants to go to work. So he's saying, like, when we first got together, she too felt similarly in terms of our values. And I'm like, well, probably clearly not. I just think he's probably telling himself that she agreed with all of these values to make himself feel better.
Yeah, what was this conversation they had where she seemingly agreed to these gender roles?
And then
or
was like-
was it just an acknowledgement of, hey, this is how I grew up, and she's like, oh, I see. And that's what you took. Like, again, like we weren't there for that conversation. He didn't and he didn't elaborate on what that conversation was. But what do you mean she agreed to in the beginning? I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
And maybe it was just even like a simple like, oh, okay, I understand that, you don't do most of the housework, but what I think I understand is that you're able to do basic cleaning, that you have some kind of semblance.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Even the tinfoil thing, like I understand. I mean, I don't know. Are you wrapping spaghetti in tinfoil? I mean, I don't know exactly what he's wrapping in tinfoil, but I do want to point out though, because as you were saying that, I remembered a tinfoil fact and I looked it up just to make sure. And tinfoil isn't, and it literally says tinfoil isn't inherently bad for the environment.
Right.
and it is recyclable and it decomposes relatively fast. However, when we put it in landfills, like people don't know what to do with it and it goes in landfills and that's what causes like, you know, ecological issues. So I'm just going to put that out there for people who use tinfoil. Try not to use it. And then if you're using it for food, because most of the time it can't be recycled and they don't know what to do with it, and then it goes in landfill and then that causes problems. But anyways, but back to that, I was just like, you know, simplest thing. I mean, you're being like, oh man, my creativity as a leftover putter awayer is being taken away from me and I must use the Tupperware. Like all these things just come down to not all of them, but this thing just comes down to a matter of what I think is laziness. Like you don't want to go through, everyone dreads the dreaded Tupperware cabinet. Mm-hmm. And of course you don't want to sift through all the lids and all the containers to find one that matches when there's tinfoil right there that you could just use instead.
Right.
But, you know, that's one thing that it's not even a matter of you don't know how to do it. You know how to do it. It was just a matter of like, you just didn't want to take the time and energy that she would use to do it. So like you guys were saying, or Hanson was saying, like there's different standards there. But that's one standard that I think you could raise because it's something. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this.
Well, this is a story I specifically wanted in here because I do believe that housework is work and stay-at-home moms, that is a full-time job.
If not more.
Yeah. Some people argue like the amount of time that the mother is, in quotes, actually working really only amounts up to like, I think it was like $60,000 a year. But that really doesn't account for them being on 24/7. And I don't think that's accurate, an estimation of the amount of work that they do.
Yeah. Especially if she is also working another full-time job. Like,
yeah. And think of like forget the amount of childcare they save. Like put the amount of childcare money that they save plus the amount of money she would be making, you know, as a full-time mom. Like just saying that's a full-time job. But I do think too with relationships, cleaning for some reason is like a big thing for a lot of people. And well, not for some reason. You know, we've lived with dirty roommates and, you know, that bothers me. I definitely I need to live with people who as much clean as I'd like to be at least. And Justin and Maya are, you know, are pretty close to.
Yeah. Well, I think it, you know, all helps with, you know, and like that guy was saying that he doesn't have the experience of knowing how to do this stuff because he grew up in a household where he didn't have to learn that. I think that's why it's important that people go out there and, you know, if you don't know how to do it, but you're going to try to live independently or live with roommates, you just got to understand that. I think that's something that you're probably going to have to learn how to do because you're going into a world with people who, for the most part, grew up having to learn these things. So.
Yeah. Learn it.
Yeah, especially if I feel like your partner or your roommates, you know, they're asking you to learn this stuff. You're the odd man out because everybody else has grown up knowing, you know, learning how, you know, having to learn how to do it. So unless, you know, you want to go back to that household where you didn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
be a responsible
what was
adult.
He saying? He in the household where he didn't. It was traditional gender roles. Yes. That's what he said. So.
Like I said, you have to find a compromise with the person that you're going to be with on what you're going to do in the future with cleaning.
Yeah.
And most of the time, it's not going to be the clean person is going to lower their standards for you. That's not going to be the case.
Yeah.
So I hate to say it, but if you're the dirty one, you're either going to have to put in a little extra effort or you have to reach a compromise where you don't do those things and you make up for it in other types of ways.
Yeah. Like I think there was another story that I once heard or read on Reddit where, you know, going back to traditional gender roles, if that's really your thing, like traditionally the man usually does the outside work and the woman does the inside housework. So if that's really your argument, then that could be something you do. I don't know if that's already in their agreement. I would assume that he would have mentioned it to help
That's my
bolster his argument, but he did not. So who's doing that? Maybe you could contribute it in that way. I think Hanson's right. Like if you literally can't, if for some reason you are incapable of you know, doing those things, then that's something that you could do. I don't know how like using Tupperware other than tinfoil is is more complicated than mowing a lawn or, doing those things. But there you go.
I think it's just him being lazy. And I think another thing too is that like the examples that he mentioned all had to do with cleaning. And when his wife lists all the things she had done that day, it doesn't just include cleaning. It also includes taking care of the kids and cooking. Could he not have done at least one of those things?
Yeah.
Unless you're really saying that your wife has to have all that put on her, which you didn't mention. I think he's kind of like changing his argument as he goes. Bottom line, he's not putting in the work that he really needs to as a husband and a father. Yeah, because it's work.
Yeah, because then, look at the example you're setting for your children. Yeah, because then do you want your kids not to know how to do any of this stuff when they're older?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would feel...
I know it's not the most fun thing in the world to do, but I don't want my kids going out there not knowing how to wash a dish.
Boy or girl.
Or being
Or
that
non-binary.
roommate or that, girlfriend or boyfriend or spouse or whoever. I don't want my child being that person in another household where
Yes.
they're the ones that people are saying, like, getting frustrated with, not being, yelled at or anything, but just criticized and judged. Just people are getting frustrated that you're not
being an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's a matter of respect. And you can make excuses for yourself by saying, like, I just wasn't raised this way, or I personally don't think it's my responsibility, or other people should be able to do this. I don't understand why just because I don't do it their way, whatever. At the end of the day, it just comes down to respect.
Yeah.
Because you might feel like you don't have to do these things, but the fact that you do feel that way and that you're not going to do it, it's just flat out disrespectful.
And the thing with the respect, like now that you bring up respect, if you're going to say that, you weren't raised this way and you shouldn't have to do it and other people, then don't expect them to do it for you.
Yeah.
Then don't expect it to happen out of nowhere, that it's just magically going to happen. Because guess what? You're saying so I'm going to go back to it. You're saying that you were raised in a household where you didn't have to deal with this stuff, but this isn't that household anymore. Mm-hmm. So either you got to adjust to the household you're in now, or you have to go back to the household.
Yeah.
Because it's not the house, it's just a different environment. It's okay if that's how you were raised and, that's what you were allowed to do, but that's not what's part of the situation anymore. So, sorry, this one got me so heated up. I got this man, the weaponizing competence for me.
Yeah. I feel like some people, men in particular, do it even like subconsciously, maybe. Like it's more of an emotion than it is like an intention. You know what I mean? Like getting so frustrated that they just like, they don't put any effort into it. That's also weaponized incompetence. Like,
and I've seen women do it too. I've seen women who, or I've heard stories about women. And no, I've seen women who have but it's a different strategy when women do it, because when women do it, they do it to be more feminine, not because they're trying to get out of work or they're trying to get out of something. Usually it's because systematically women are expected to be a certain way. And so when a guy is trying to show a girl how to do, change a tire or change their oil or something, I don't know. I feel like women's like reaction, they'd be like, oh, I don't know how to do it. Oh my God, I don't know. Just like there are men who use weaponizing competence on women for their reasons of getting out of what they believe are things that they don't have to do. I know that there are women out there who use weaponizing competence in the same way, but to seem more feminine rather than to get out of stuff. But it's to...
Sounds like pick me vibes.
Yeah, pick me vibes.
Plus, I feel like there's other things. Like, it's just so interesting that he doesn't mention any of the other things that he does throughout the day. Like,
it tells me
add it to your argument, like, and he didn't.
It tells me that he thinks the world really like revolves around him, and that he thinks his work and his mindset is more important, has more pressure, has more weight than any of the other shit that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, he made it very apparent that his world is tougher and more difficult when he was talking about his job.
Yeah, which, like, I really don't like those comparisons. I definitely understand, like, in terms of like a physical health thing, then yeah, like if he had physical injuries, I would expect the distribution of housework to differ depending on like the ease of the activity, you know, like how strenuous it is. But this isn't that.
But even in like a case like that, anyone who wants the things to be divided equitably would go out of their way to
Yes.
find ways to do more.
Yes.
And he's not trying to find ways to do more in ways in which he feels comfortable. He's saying, I feel uncomfortable doing it this way. I tried to do it this way. I'm not doing anything anymore at all.
That's so true.
And it's like, even somebody who's like, let's say somebody who's even physically disabled, right? Who wanted to provide like an equitable amount, they'd be more of a planner, if anything. Like somebody has to figure out what we're going to eat for the week, you know, make the shopping list, do stuff like that. And there's other things they can do. They can find things to do. He didn't mention like, oh, well, sometimes I make dinner, I like watch the kids, I do this or I do that. It's just, I don't do this.
Yeah, that's so true.
I don't do this, so I'm not going to do this. Yeah.
Work's tough. Work is tough.
And I think too, like, when it comes to housework or any type of work in particular, like, just think of others, you know? Like, I work from home and I work part-time now. I used to work full-time, but I've been having some health issues, so I have to stay home a lot more now, and I'm working less hours. And I just feel like I need to, I know, Maya, that you tell me I should not do this, but I do feel like I need to, you know, help out a little more, because I know that you guys work hard like all day, every day, and I'm not great at it all the time, but I do try to help out more around the house.
But again, you should not feel pressured to do that, because just because you're home doesn't mean you're a Cinderella, which is something that my friend Liz told me when I was still living with her, but I graduated early and didn't have very many classes. So I just really appreciated that acknowledgement, and I hope you know that you don't have to be your Cinderella just because you work from home.
I know. But I think another thing too is that relationship-wise, you and me, Justin, we kind of have this, like, there's like an unspoken type of rule where one of us will have a really good day or a really good week and we're super clean, and the other person feels really stressed and obviously they are not clean. And there'll be some weeks where we both feel good at the same time and everything is so beautiful. And then there's some weeks where we both don't do well and everything's like twice as messy. So I think something in terms of housework that we've had a lot of discussions about is that just because I'm feeling good and feeling like I want everything to be done now doesn't mean that I should expect things to be done that way by the people around me. And so, yes, sometimes that means that I'm going to have to clean up more or be extra detailed because I have very specific needs with my cleaning requirements, but someone else is going to have to do it their way too. So as much as I disagree with how this guy is handling things, I think there's also this part in the relationship that's missing, which is that you think about the other person and you mold yourselves around each other's like emotions, and you communicate, you talk about these things and accept the fact that it's not going to be clean all the time, because I think that's probably very rare.
Yeah, especially if they have kids too.
Yeah. But at least do your own laundry. Good topic, babe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Make it nice and broad so that you can fill it with all sorts of things.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a work episode part 2 again.
Yeah.
At some point, because I just feel like there's so many so many. I'm sure we all have work stories too.
I
that
have,
we could all share.
yeah, I have so many work stories. I've got so many work-related Reddit stories.
I mean, it makes up a large portion of a lot of people's lives.
It's
so.
true.
sure.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, before Justin signs us off, I just want to say thank you guys. You're listening like 2 weeks from now, but right now we just released our 3rd episode on criminal activity, and the sound is amazing.
I love it.
Yeah, we're all very happy with our equipment, and we just hope that it just gets better.
It was a frustrating start, but
It
oh my
was.
gosh, it was like I remember being so frustrated before we recorded that, and then hearing it back, I was like, oh my god, it's so crisp.
Yeah,
So nice.
It's so crisp. But yeah. And so thank you for your support. I know not a lot of people are listening now, but every listen means so much. And remember to spread the word. Follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. You can find us on Patreon and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. I think there are some other ones too. But yeah, just make sure to share this, follow us on all socials, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe, whatever. And please, 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 please leave a review on Apple Podcasts if that's what you're listening on. Comment on our YouTube. We would just love to hear from you guys. If you guys have any topics you'd like to recommend or anything that you've been enjoying the most that you want us to talk about more. And with that,
Thanks for listening to our Midnight Ramblings. Bye.
Bye.